So many amazing things that stories of God's faithfulness and his goodness that's on display. And as leaders, we have to take the responsibility on ourselves to tell those stories.
Yes.
Hey, we're celebrating some things. And what does it do? It reinforces our values. It accelerates the vision. It makes people feel like, man, I'm so glad I get to be a part of that, whatever part that they play.
Hey, welcome everybody to episode 14 of the Faith Family Leadership Podcast. We're back in the studio again.
Yes, we are.
We've got the one and only Pastor Josh with us.
What's up, everybody?
Doing good, man?
Doing great.
Hey, listen, before we get into it, I just want to give a huge shout out to everyone who listens, watches, likes, subscribes.
Thank you.
Yes, and we love hearing from you guys.
Keep it up.
So leave us a comment, ask a question. Word on the street is maybe sometime this year we're going to do an episode that's all Q&A.
I would love that.
So that would be a lot of fun.
I would love that.
It'd be really good. Today, we're talking all about keeping the connection strong. Okay. We're approaching summer. Be here before you know it. And while that is a exciting time because you get to rest a little bit, we recognize that with that comes looser schedules.
Yep.
People are in, people are out. Yep. They're traveling. And as a leader, you can experience some frustration trying to keep it all together.
Yeah, you can.
So I know today's going to be a good one. You've got some insight into this. But before that, you probably know what's coming next, don't you?
Yes. My favorite part.
Yeah, mine too. We're playing this or that. This or that. This or that. It's as simple as it sounds. Our team put together a list of questions. I already looked ahead. I think at this point, I know what you're going to say to 90% of them, but I'm still going to ask them.
All right. You know me that well, I guess.
I think so. Okay. Question number one. You got to fight one of these animals. Would you rather fight a gorilla or a bear?
Okay. I'm going with gorilla.
Yeah.
Because, you see these videos at times you'll find like a sympathetic gorilla, but I've never heard of a sympathetic bear.
No, one word, the Revenant.
Yeah. So maybe I could do some sign language to the gorilla and like, what do they call it? Hypnotize him.
Yeah. Or you could offer him a snack.
Yeah. May sit down and chill for a little bit.
I don't think that there's much reasoning with a bear.
No, man.
Look at what he did to DiCaprio.
Yeah. There was no conversation.
Zero. When I look at a bear, I think of an angsty teenager. They're either tired and sleeping or they're angry.
Yeah.
I'm not playing that game.
Yeah.
I don't want nothing to do with it. Okay. No. Let's look at the next one here. I know what you're going to say to this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Cat or dog?
Oh, dog all day. That is not even, I'll be honest, it's not even close for me. Hard for me to say that. I do get challenged at times trying to understand why people like cats. I really don't understand that.
What are your qualms with a kitty?
We had an outdoor cat growing up, pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like a warrior cat, lived to be like 16 years old, just bringing up dead rats, leaving them.
Has a story to tell.
Yeah. He's like, hey man, I've got the outside covered for you.
Yeah.
Like y'all don't have anything to worry about.
He's offering a service.
Yeah. I'm taking care of rats. I'm protecting the perimeter.
But the cats that are inside, they're rubbing up on you. I'm not.
No, I've seen like cats like.
They can go AWOL on you pretty fast.
Yeah, real quick, and they're cranky, and they just show you love when they want something. Their dogs are just always happy to give love.
Yeah, I see that.
So, and then I read this thing. I think I saw it one time. This guy was talking about how a cat will eat you if you die, and like if you're locked in your house and sometimes somehow you die, a cat will eat you, starting with your face.
Man, insult to injury.
Dogs will just about starve to death before they. Would go after you as their owner. The bond, it's the bond. So I know it's kind of dark.
No, but
sometimes I'll, my mind goes there. Like if I had a dog or a cat and I died in the house and no one was able to get to me, what do I want?
Who's eating me first?
I want a dog.
Yeah.
I want a dog that'll lay there next to me.
Nice. Okay, I know the answer to this one, but I'm going with it anyway. Home cooked or restaurant?
Home cooked all day. I would rather eat at home. 99% of my food I eat at home. We cook it at home.
Yeah. Yeah, I've gotten to the point now where I do eat more at home. I do enjoy going out with friends and stuff, but if you're like trying to be really aware of what you're eating or how much you're eating, I find that every time I go to go to a restaurant, 9 times out of 10, I'm blowing those macros up a little bit.
Yeah.
You never know what's in them. You don't know totally what's in them.
You don't know what they're cooking with. And so that's probably the thing for me. I want to make sure I'm eating clean. There's just certain things in my diet that if gets introduced, my body doesn't like it. So it's not like just a macro thing for me. It's like
It's
I
level
don't feel
beyond.
well.
Yeah.
And
It's really not
so we
worth it.
plan, like there's restaurants that we'll go to, and
Mhm.
we tried a new one the other day.
Hmm.
Really liked it. It was like a paleo
Oh, cool.
friendly place in Houston. Going out on date nights, but I'm just like I'd rather be at home.
Yeah.
I would just rather be at home. It's much more convenient.
Mhm. And if you're a good cook, you're gonna get better food, spend a whole
This is
lot
true.
less. You can
I'm
spend
saving
more
a lot of
time.
money eating
Yeah.
at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Morning workout or afternoon?
Afternoon.
Yeah.
Definitely an afternoon guy.
Mhm.
I've tried it both ways, and I may
Mhm.
do the morning once it gets really, really hot again.
Mhm.
But I use it as a way to almost decompress.
Totally.
So I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I got to make it like a, couple of hours. It's just me
Mhm.
out there.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'm working out, then I'll pick up a golf club and swing it.
Mhm.
It's just
Yeah.
goofing around.
I've almost exclusively went to afternoon workouts. For a while, I was trying to make mornings work.
Yeah.
And I've changed some things up where it serves that way for me too. It's a total decompress. It helps me kind of hit the reset before I get home.
Yeah.
Something I look forward to.
Yeah.
I've even changed my schedule where if I've got something in the evening, like I'll come into the office earlier so that I can leave earlier.
Yeah.
And it makes me, I feel even better in those environments.
Absolutely.
Ocean or lake?
Probably ocean.
Yeah.
I like the sound of it.
I know. I was going to say the same thing. I enjoy the ocean too, but not necessarily being in it.
Yeah.
Seeing it, hearing it.
Yeah.
When we go on vacation, we'll typically go to like a beach type destination. And I can do it for one afternoon, and then for the rest of the time, I'd rather be at the pool, but I still want to see it.
Yeah. Are you not a big fan of the sand?
Not at all.
Yeah. It gets everywhere.
It gets everywhere. One of the worst things in the world to me is trying to clean sand out of your car. You know how I'm OCD about the cleanliness of a
Yes, you are.
vehicle.
Mm.
When the kids were young and Elizabeth wanted to go to the beach with them, we were 99% of the time taking her car.
Yeah.
I'm not dealing with that.
Or renting a box truck.
That's an option too. Football or basketball?
I'm a football guy.
Yeah. I was thinking about this. Basketball, when it's the playoffs or you got a team that you are pulling for, it's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
But football is one of those things, like even if it's not a team I'm pulling for, if it's on, I'm watching it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I like both. I love sports. I probably loved sports more before it got so political and had an agenda. I'm not real sure why they introduced that to sports, but it's happened. And so that's probably
part of it.
Yeah, I'm not as committed to any team at this point because I kind of lost interest a little bit.
It
but
takes
I will
a shine
watch
off of it, yeah.
But if I had to choose one or the other, I'm probably going to watch a football game.
Yeah.
But if it's golf, I'm watching golf.
Yeah, did you watch the Masters?
Absolutely.
How good was it seeing Tiger there?
It was great. I mean, even if he's playing poorly, it's still good to see him out there. But it is sad in a sense, he's just not what he was. But kudos to him for having the humility to be able to go out there and play at a level that, he's Tiger Woods.
I know.
I mean, I think people forget just how great he was as a golfer.
Well, all these videos have been popping up on my Instagram feed of like Tiger back in the day.
Yeah.
And I'm not even a golfer.
Right.
But there's this overwhelming appreciation that I have for how good he was. It's insane, some of that stuff.
The whole game of golf owes him a huge, huge debt of gratitude because it's a worldwide sport. The popularity of golf has just skyrocketed. And the reason for it, Tiger Woods.
Yeah, totally. All right, time travel. Would you rather go to the past or go into the future? You're hopping in a DeLorean. Where are you going?
I'm probably going back.
Yeah? What era?
Oh, I'm not going prior to like running water and electricity.
No, absolutely not.
No, so I'm not doing that. I don't know, maybe like the 20s or the 50s.
Some good style back then.
Yeah,
they cared about.
Guys were wearing, I'm kind of, I admire that.
Yeah.
Like guys are wearing a suit, they're looking sharp,
Mm-hmm.
wearing a hat. It's just
there felt like there was more of an appreciation for everything being a little bit sharper and nicer. You know what I mean? Like people kept their stuff clean.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they had their own issues about all kinds of other things, but I think the 50s, big cars,
little bit gaudy almost.
Yeah, like new stuff's coming out. People getting fridges. It's like, man, it's just and I could imagine what life was like without a cell phone.
I want to imagine what life is like.
I mean, I just imagine how great is that?
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think I would rather go back to the past, but there is a part of me that would love to see what cars look like in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Like now that the Cybertruck is out, my neighbor just got one.
Shut up.
Yeah, he told me he was on a 4-year waiting list for it. And
what is the price tag on a Cybertruck? I don't know.
So like if you, from what I understand, if you like were on the waiting list and you got selected, which is what happened to him, I think you're still under 100. Like I think it's probably in that range. But like now they're reselling. So say you were on the waiting list, you got one, but instead of keeping it, now you're going to flip it.
Yeah.
Those are anywhere between 170 and 190.
Sheesh. I saw one here in Baytown the other day. It may have been him.
Well, he got it about 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so it wasn't him.
No, so me and the boys were out. The boys were like looking at it and everything. Yeah. And he said, come check it out. And so then we were looking at it, and it's insane in there, bro. And then he says, let's go for a drive. And he let me drive it.
Wow.
It's wild. It's insane.
Did he let you kind of?
Yeah. So we got in an undisclosed location on a straightaway, and it has like a launch mode. Because it's got all these different settings, right? And so you put it in beast mode where it's essentially all the power. And in this launch mode, what you'll do is you'll push the brake all the way down. Yeah. And then you push the accelerator all the way down, and it'll give you like a little warning. And then when you let off, bro, what it feels like is a drop on a roller coaster. Yeah. But there's no like gauges. It's just like a big iPad over here. And he said, hold it straight and look forward. So I did. And in the period of time it took me to hold it straight and to look over, we were going 95. I've never experienced anything like that.
So the dash, the instrument panel, it's not in front of you. You're looking over here to know how fast you're going?
There's just an iPad, right? It's like a big iPad right here, like where your center, like, like where your radio or something.
Would you rather see in front of you though?
Yeah, so I totally would rather.
That just seems like a little bit of a distraction.
Well, it's super like, I would almost say like in my opinion, it's almost overly minimalistic. Like when you get in, there's essentially the yoke. It's not even a full steering wheel, it's like a yoke. Yeah. And then there's the dash, which goes all the way up, but there's nothing on it. And then you've got your iPad screen. But he was telling me, because he's had multiple Teslas, he'll always, for the ones that he's had that doesn't have a gauge cluster, he installs one aftermarket because he says it is dangerous. He was telling me even the autopilot feature, not that this is a podcast about Teslas, but you can literally set the destination and he gets in his car and it takes him there. Pretty wild, man.
That is wild.
Aesthetically pleasing as a car guy, though, it's not really checking the box for me.
No, I'm with you. I admire the ingenuity and the
technology.
Yeah, but it's like the practicality of it. I don't want one.
No. Got a couple more. Would you rather read a book or listen to a podcast?
Ooh, that's a good one. I probably listen to more podcasts than I do read books, because I'll listen to several in a week, different ones. So. If it's just, what am I doing right now? It's probably podcast, but I've always got a book that I'm reading. Yeah.
Now, would you rather watch a podcast or listen to a podcast?
I'd rather watch it.
Really?
Yeah. If I had a choice, but I listen to more because obviously if I'm walking, I'm doing stuff.
Working out. Last one, shopping online or in store?
I'm an online guy.
Yeah. I like the experience of going into a store.
Yeah, I do too.
Especially if it's like a nicer store.
Yes.
But what I found though is most things that like are actually going to fit me or that fit my preferences, I have to order online.
Right.
So
because stores now are just kind of becoming like a display case. They have very limited options.
Yes.
And you get online and you find out, well, this wasn't in the store. This wasn't in the store. Yeah.
What I'll do sometimes is I'll try something on to get a sense of the sizing, and then I know, and so then I'll get something new. Speaking of something new, what do you think about our new cups, bro? Did you see?
I like these cups. Yeah, I was just checking those out.
This is an official Faith Family Leadership Podcast cup in slate gray.
I like that.
The right blend of strength and excellence.
Even matches.
Yeah, bro.
The church color scheme.
Exactly, man. So maybe we need to do a merch line. Listeners, watchers, if you want a official LP Nation mug, should we call ourselves that?
The LP Nation.
An LP Nation mug. Maybe let us know in the comments and we'll get something going. It's so ridiculous. Let's get out of this.
Yes.
All right, let's talk about something that matters. We're keeping the connection strong.
Yeah.
As I mentioned earlier, summer's almost here. we're kind of coming off the high of spring growth season,
Right.
even Easter. I mean,
Right.
our church has been experiencing some incredible things, and our teams, man, I'm so proud of our teams. They've been
Absolutely.
running, gunning.
Yeah.
People that are hosting small groups. It's been really such an incredible spring here. But we know that as summer approaches, things kind of start to just naturally dial back a little bit.
Sure. Yeah.
Again, as I mentioned earlier, schedules will start to get looser. People will be in and out. And I think it's also a great opportunity even for our leaders to rest.
Yeah. No,
You-
it's very important.
You know, you've taught our team this. I mean, you've said this ever since we were in Victoria together, that summer is really the time where you work on things.
Right.
And then in the growth seasons and high volume, that's really where you're in it.
Right.
And so while summer does, you
Yeah.
know, kind of grants us this opportunity, it also comes with challenges, especially for leaders.
Yeah.
Because people are still coming to church.
Yeah, that's right.
People still need
Yeah,
small
Sundays.
groups.
Sundays coming every 7 days.
It's coming every 7 days. And so we talked about this last fall. We really put this podcast episode on the list because we said, man, we've got to help our leaders knowing as we go into summer, how do we keep the connection strong?
Yeah.
Even throughout the summer. And so I'm excited to unpack this with you. But maybe before we talk about how to actually do that,
Yeah.
maybe just share with our listeners what can happen if you don't? What happens if you let disengagement settle in?
Yeah. Well, I think as leaders, we have to initiate the connection and make sure that it's strong, understanding that it's going to be different in the summer months.
Yep.
But if you allow disengagement to take place, then I think what people can sometimes begin to think is that, well, somebody's taking care of it, somebody's doing it, and that somebody really doesn't exist unless things are being like you're very intentional about keeping that connection. So it looks differently, but I think connection's so vitally important to just team morale and vision and keeping the vision in front of people, reminding our teams of the why of our mission. And that doesn't change in the summertime.
Come on.
I mean, obviously the frequency changes and things, may look a little bit different, but, we still have people to reach because, right in the middle of summer, someone's going to walk into church for the very first time.
That's right.
There's going to be someone going through a crisis. And we have to have a team that's connected, a body that's engaged in order to minister to those needs, reach those people. And so connection, it has to stay very strong.
Yeah.
And there's a way to do it. There's a way to do it. We'll talk about some of that today.
Yeah, I think I mean, what you said was so good. And I think even for the team, for those that are on the team, the connection is needed too for the dream team itself.
Absolutely.
I mean, we're a family that we're part of. And just because it's a little bit hotter and kids aren't in school doesn't mean that we don't need that family.
Right.
You know
That's
what I
true.
mean?
Yeah.
And so it's as beneficial for the teams that we're leading as it is for the people that we're serving.
Absolutely.
And it is so
Well said.
easy for things to go into autopilot.
Yeah.
And that's why I think the planning side and the prepping side, that's why I'm glad we're doing this episode now and not in June. Because if you're thinking about this in June, you're too late.
Yeah, no doubt. It's already upon you at that point.
So how would you say that you start keeping that connection strong with your team?
Yeah, a few things to keep in mind. I think one, you have to make sure that as a leader, as you're moving into that summer month, those summer months, that we continually celebrate with people the things that God has been doing. I mean, what an amazing spring we've just had. Record attendance, record salvations, record baptisms. Things are happening, things that we've prayed for and believed for from the very beginning. And we have to constantly remind our people, hey, we're winning. And what I think, at least for me, I like being a part of a winning team.
100%.
I mean, no one wants to walk in and hear about all the problems that we have. Do we have problems? Sure, because where you have people, you have problems.
Yeah.
But there's so much good happening.
Oh, yeah.
So many amazing things that stories of God's faithfulness and His goodness that's on display. And as leaders, we have to take the responsibility on ourselves to tell those stories.
Yes.
Hey, we're celebrating some things. And what does it do? It reinforces our values. It accelerates the vision. It makes people feel like, man, I'm so glad I get to be a part of that, whatever part that they play. And so you're obviously celebrating what God's doing here in the organization as a whole. But I think it's also important to celebrate what God's doing in the lives of individual team members.
Love that.
Love that. And constantly, hey, I want to tell you, John, tell us about what happened with you. I mean, when you're together in huddles, when you're sending out a text, hey, I want to let you know so and so, they received that promotion on the job. God answered this prayer. God really used this person in a cool way. Their family's doing this. I just think it's good because it creates connection.
Yes.
And it's creating it very proactively, very in a life-giving manner.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're not just talking about what didn't go well here. I mean, that's not a great way to connect with people.
Right.
You don't go on a date with your spouse and talk about all the problems that you have and think you're going to walk away.
That's not a
say,
great
that was a great night.
Yeah.
No, you want to talk about the good things.
That's right.
So there's always something good to talk about.
Yeah. And I think what's important too is as things kind of rise, as you rise in leadership, you said this, you give up personal rights. But I think another thing, the higher up in the theoretical org chart you are, the more you're probably going to talk about problems. But as it goes down to every layer, that's where you want to celebrate even more.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I loved what you said. When you think about celebrating the wins, you really do it two ways. You're celebrating people and you're celebrating progress.
Yeah.
And you can really, if you can put it into one of those two buckets, I mean, that's going to make a team really just cohesive. I mean, we're all in this thing together.
Yeah. And you have to be creative sometimes on how you find those things. You have to look for them. You have to mine for them.
Yeah.
Because if you're geared at leaders are kind of wired to solve problems. That's what we do.
Yeah.
So it's easier sometimes to think about what isn't going right, and that gets your attention. But make sure you're just taking time to celebrate just all the time with your people, because God's doing something around here.
That's right.
I mean, and He's doing stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Around us, everywhere.
Yes.
And you just have to have eyes to see it.
For somebody that maybe is even wired a little bit more like me, because I'm probably naturally wired to see what's not going well.
Yeah.
What kind of disciplines or practices, or how do you approach that? Because you mentioned you got to look for it. How do you look for the things to celebrate?
Well, if I'm in a conversation, I'll ask the question, hey, tell me what's God doing in your life? What are the good things that God's up to? And it just kind of directs the conversation in a way.
It's good.
Sometimes people are like, I haven't really thought about that. But then many times they have hey, well, God's doing this for us. And then it just gives them an opportunity to talk about it, which reinforces it in them. And then you have a story to tell. So as a leader, we're always looking for little stories.
Yeah.
Like I used to call them my elevator stories, where you just have a couple seconds with somebody and you're able to share something that is encouraging and will cause, just lifts the room.
Yep. Another thing I've seen you do really well, and I think we could even look back to the week after Easter, is anytime that you're on a stage somewhere, you're talking to a group of people, you're always celebrating something.
Absolutely.
And so even the week after Easter, before you even got into your message, man, you were encouraging the church and celebrating what God did, and you were tying it back to the part that the church played in that.
Absolutely.
And again, it kind of brings this level of, man, we're all in this thing together.
Yeah.
And even as leaders, like, you may not be getting on a stage, but you're leading a huddle.
Right.
You're communicating on a Zoom call with your team, whatever it is. Take every opportunity where you're in front of your people to celebrate something first that ties it back to the vision.
Yeah, because if you don't, again, you get caught up in the, in the issues.
Yeah.
And I never want to, like, when I give the credit away to God and to the people for what happened at Easter, I'm never trying to take that for myself, because first of all, I'm not, so naive to think or prideful to think that all of that was a result of something that I alone did. I mean, it was a great team effort. So then you're bringing everybody into it. We're all high-fiving each other and giving God praise for it. And people are like, wow, I like being a part of a church that's doing something.
Yeah.
I mean, so we could think about, man, it was crowded. Or we can think about, man, we're loading up heaven. People's lives are being changed. I mean, it's all about perspective. So celebration kind of recalibrates the perspective of our team.
So good.
To keep it where it needs to be. Because if there's one thing I know about church people, they like to talk about some problems.
They do.
And I know churches, unfortunately, if I could just I'm not trying to be unkind, I know churches that have a list of problems they're trying to solve, and they're talking about it, but they're not really solving anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's problems never go away. Issues never go away. There's always going to be something to overcome. But that's what we're here as leaders to do. Yeah. But you got to keep the team excited about what you're doing.
I love that.
I mean, even when we're in the setup days, and Crosby's in setup right now. I mean, it's all about the leader's ability to create celebration moments and keep the perspective of the team moving in the right direction. I mean, 5.5 years we were portable. And it wasn't something that was necessarily easy, but it wasn't just a grind to the point where it felt like, cruel and unusual punishment. I mean, we were moving forward. We were celebrating the land. We're celebrating this. We're celebrating that we got building. I was celebrating, hey, we got plans.
Yeah.
Hey, we've got approved for the loan. Hey, we've raised this much. I mean, you're just always, hey, the steel's going up. Every stage of it what are you doing? You're just keeping people encouraged.
Yep. And I think too, last I'll say to this, because we keep talking about that one point, is it also helps your people shift from it being this church or your church to it's our church.
Yeah, it's ours.
It's ours.
That's what I want to feel like. And let me throw this in there. Every team has things that they could be celebrating because there's milestones and there's markers for every team that's unique to that team.
That's good.
To that service, to that team.
Yes.
And as a leader, you've got to know what those things are and recognize them or you'll miss the moment.
Yep. So we celebrate well. What else?
I would say bring people together.
You got to connect well.
You got to connect. You've got to create space for, in the church world, we used to call it fellowship. I guess we still do. It's a biblical word.
Yeah.
But it's a way that you get together and there's some food, there's an activity, there's something there. But that's one of the most important things. That's what keeps a large church feeling small.
Yep.
So every captain, every coach, you need to be thinking about, are our people getting together outside of the space where we do ministry?
Yes.
Like that is really, really important. It's not easy to facilitate that. I'm not saying it's easy. It shouldn't feel like one more thing, but I know many times it can because I'm a leader too, and I can. But I've learned to prioritize it, and I would say just a little quick hack here that will help: get it on the calendar.
Yes,
plan it ahead 2 months from now.
Yes,
that way you get everybody ready for it. And when I was leading a youth ministry, it would be as simple as every month we had a meeting on a Monday night that I just said, hey, everybody bring something. Everybody brought something. I made sure we had some drinks there, and everybody brought chips and cheese dip, just all kinds of junk food. And it was a good time.
Soul,
and we did talk about some ministry stuff, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
I think at times we do overcomplicate it. And I think too, there's a lot of power in what you're saying about get it on the calendar, commit to it. Because even as a leader, I run into the same issues at times. I'm like, man, another thing. What I found though is every time I go to that other thing, by the time I get there, I'm really glad that I did it.
Yeah, no doubt.
Recently, we took some of our setup guys and we did a night at Topgolf. It was just the dudes, and it was a hack and slash out there. What I learned is if there's ever a golf tournament don't bring the Crosby setup guys. There's probably 2 of us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we accomplished an amazing feat. We were actually able to get a golf ball over the side net into a parking lot, so that was pretty cool.
Never seen that done before.
Well, come out to Crosby.
Was it on accident or was it intentional?
It was on accident. Everything good that happened that night from a golf perspective was on accident.
That's a whole nother level of talent.
But it was so good, man. And let me tell you what, we did that on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
That next Sunday morning.
Oh, yeah.
You could feel it, bro.
Everybody.
It was so good.
It's just a whole nother level of relational connection.
Yes.
It deepens that. It makes it go deeper and deeper. The personal connection is stronger. And that's what memories create for us. Good memories.
Yep.
Like, bad memories, we're not talking about those. Good memories, though, happen when, hey, you remember that time we got together over here? I remember in the days I miss some of these days, but things change, you know. Right. But during the launch phase of the church, we were having get-togethers at people's houses. We were doing things. We were throwing washers. Kids had bounce houses. And it was just, I look back on that with a lot of fondness. And a lot of those individuals that were present in those settings are still part of this church today because it created something there. And it's like the relationship reservoir got deeper. And there are times you need to dip into that.
That's
thing.
100%.
You got to dip into
100%.
that. Sometimes you have to dip in because things can be, ministry can be demanding.
Yeah.
So, but there's equity one of the things that I've tried to be mindful of is I never want people to feel like they have to do something for the church. They don't have to do anything.
That's right.
I mean, I don't like the word volunteer because I think it diminishes the importance of the role that our dream team plays. But we are what is known in the nonprofit world as a volunteer-driven organization.
Yeah.
Which is the most difficult leadership assignment that a leader can ever be given because no one has to do it. No one has to show up and be a greeter at the 8:00 service on Sunday because no one's getting compensated for that with earthly, money and things that this world has. You have to be able to create connection and you have to celebrate people when they do that because it motivates.
Yes.
It motivates.
Yes.
It creates momentum. And so I think getting together, I mean, if I was leading a ministry team this summer, like I plan on bringing just even our staff over.
Yes.
And hey, open up the house. Let's cook out. I mean, there's no agenda.
That's right.
Other than Haynes.
That's right. Summer is the best opportunity for that.
Like if you don't do this summer, you really don't love your team.
I agree.
I mean, I know that's a strong.
No, I agree.
You prioritize the things that you love.
That's right.
And if you love your team and you want them to feel valued, create space for them to hang out.
That's right. I would be encouraging every single leader of every single team, put something on the calendar in June or July.
Yeah,
put something on the calendar for June and July and do it soon because the people that you want your team there.
Yep.
And people are making plans and they're traveling and like get it on the calendar because then it shows those people that you value them and that this is important.
And here's how I would do it. If I was a captain, I would assign someone the responsibility on the team because every team has somebody that's naturally good at gathering people.
Yep.
And I would get them to help organize the event. And then I would promote it within the team. I would encourage people to come. And I know with the leader, sometimes you think, wow, we don't all know each other that well. Well, that's all the more reason why you should, because you will know each other on the other side. So just press through the initial awkward moments because you do have something in common.
That's right.
You've got, you serve together and it just makes that, it creates that bond. And if I'm a leader, I need that with my team because I want people showing up to help me on 100%. Sundays. I don't want to feel like I'm bearing that burden alone. And
well, and I'd say this too, chances are the people that maybe you don't know that well, those are probably the people that are a little bit shady when it comes to the level of commitment.
No, totally. 100%. Every time.
Every time, bro.
It's the guy that never talks to anybody, maybe because he didn't on-ramp well. But this is such an important time. I mean, I actually think doing something like this once a quarter with your team is probably ideal.
Yeah.
But if you just did it this summer,
you'd go into the fall so much stronger.
You've got to do it. You've got to do it. If you really want if you want your team to be a high-performing team.
Yeah.
And then I'll say, sometimes when you're around the church, we do events in such a spectacular way. Leaders, don't put that much pressure on yourself. I mean, it's so simple.
Yes.
What we're talking about here. I mean, hey, I'm going to grill and, we'll.
Everybody bring something.
I'm going to provide the burgers.
Yeah.
I mean, cooking burgers is not that expensive for a team of 6 to 8, 10 people with their spouse. If they're, if you make it like that, doing what you did at Top Golf doesn't cost the leader any, besides, finances other than just getting there and paying for their own golf. So it's not like leader, you need to go and provide the whole experience.
No.
And I know people that think like this in this church because they're so hospitable. They want to just make sure, I want to appreciate my team.
Yes.
They appreciate that you're making space for them.
100%.
You don't need to, it shouldn't cost you a lot of money to do something.
It's not
like
a burden. It's not a burden.
No. Keep it low key, like, don't be worrying about the production of something.
No, it's just the opportunity and gathering the people.
Right.
Okay, so that's good stuff. So we're celebrating, we're connecting well. What else?
Well, I think in the summer with people's travel schedules, you have to make sure that all your bases are covered. So you got to schedule, sometimes creatively if need be, and know like
it's really good.
Like how many people do we really need here? Like you can be creative.
That's good, man.
With that, I think the schedule is so important to what we do around here.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
It's so important. I think every dream teamer has the responsibility to respond to their schedule in a timely manner. If I had someone on my team that wasn't, we'd be having a one-on-one.
Yeah.
You just can't lead when you have half-hearted commitment. And if they don't understand how important it is, they mean, what's the big deal? You know, someone's going to be there. Well, you've got to, like, that mindset. And I just want to say this. I want to make sure I don't want to seem like a tyrant when I'm saying this. So I hope everybody hears my heart in this. But in the early days of the church, when I was way more involved in the scheduling process, I never let that mindset settle in. And if I saw it settling in, I was addressing it, because that mindset is toxic.
Yes, it is.
To every church.
Yes, it
every
is.
team, every business, like someone else will do. You can't even live within the four walls of your own home in a good family like that. Everyone has a role and responsibility.
Yes.
You know, if my son doesn't take the trash out, I'm not taking it out for him. He's going to pay the price for that later, because he's going to have to take that trash down to the dump himself and dump it and take time and like, this is your responsibility. So I've trained my family like this. I think the church is a family.
Yes,
we have to train our family
so good
to understand their role, how important it is. And it's not like, oh, you better do this or else. I mean, if you live like that, I mean, good luck building anything good.
Right.
We live at the tree of life, not at the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So I do this that I do for the Lord because I love him and I want to. So I respond to my schedule because I love my team.
Yes.
I love what God's doing here. So I think leaders have to make sure, though, hey, who's out? Like, make sure that like, someone has to take ownership of that, because here's what I know. The average dream teamer is not thinking about the weekend right now.
Nope.
But as leaders, we're to think about the weekend for them.
Yes.
We need to be thinking about it and reminding them of it, and not, badgering people or like.
But you're leading them to it.
Yes. You're like, hey, this is important. This is what we're doing. This is what we need.
Yeah.
And you're making sure that your bases are covered, because people are going to come to church in the summertime.
That's right.
And
I think gone are the days of like, because back in the day, we'd look at summer as like a pretty big dip. And even when I look at the church last summer, we didn't really experience a massive dip. I mean, at this point, like you said it so well just a few minutes ago, there are people that are going to come over this summer that are coming out for the very first time. Yep. It is somebody's first Sunday.
Yeah, somebody just moved here from another city. And
it is some mama's answered prayer.
That's it.
That child is walking in.
That's right.
And we have a responsibility, a God-given responsibility, to prepare an environment where God can reach their hearts.
Yeah, because we I want to use that word, we are the body of Christ.
That's right.
The church is not a group of pastors.
No.
It's led by pastors. But the church is not just a bunch of paid professionals running around doing all of the ministry. We are the body. If you're a part of this church family, this is our thing.
Yes.
This is our responsibility to serve this community and the people and the families of this church. And so I just see it that way. Yeah. So schedules, I mean, it sounds a bit mechanical, but I don't know how you can have a great team without a good schedule.
No, I couldn't agree more. It's really good. Another thing you've mentioned is just the importance of communication.
Yeah, it's got to be really clear, and it's got to be consistent. Leaders initiate conversations.
Great.
Leaders initiate communication. So we're proactively driving the conversation. We're constantly guiding that thing.
Yes.
Like we're not surrendering that to someone that maybe is getting loud and getting negative. No, we talk about things that God's doing, and we communicate well. We're keeping everyone. We've got a system to keep everyone kind of in the loop.
Yep.
We as a church do our best. That's why we have the news. I don't know how many people actually listen to it, but we have the news. We have a website. We have social media.
We send out church.
We send out an email. We know that's not the best form of communication. The best is at the grassroots level, the captain with their team.
Yeah.
That's where the best communication takes place. And whether it's through text messages, a group me, it's a Zoom call, like captains have to. If I could just take a moment to remind the captains just how vitally important they are to the life of this church.
Yes.
And thank them for their willingness to take that on. They're pillars in this church in so many ways, a foundational piece that everything is built on. And God sees captains. God sees coaches. And I'm here to tell you, not everyone gets the same rewards in heaven. People that make an investment in the local church through their time, their prayers, their serving, their finances, those people, listen, when we stand before Jesus, everyone's not getting the same participation trophy. There will be rewards that are given to those that have prioritized God's house, and those that, and leaders. When you're a leader, you are a communicator.
Yes,
you are someone that's a voice, that's a mouthpiece, that's leading people through your words and through your actions towards the vision and mission of our church. So I think we have to constantly communicate, not be obnoxious.
Yeah,
because people are traveling, but I'd give more and run the risk of annoying
I'd rather
someone.
over communicate than under.
Yes, because if a captain goes AWOL, the whole team falls apart.
Yeah,
you can't have a great, I don't know, forgive me, I don't know all the proper military terms, but there's a platoon leader. There's somebody, like, without the leader, people are looking for direction. What do we do? How are we going to get there? And then if there's not a leader, what happens is that people start trying to figure it out on their own. So that's a breeding ground for dissension, confusion. And listen, if I was a person serving on the dream team and my leader wasn't communicating with me, I wouldn't want to serve on that team.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what's going on. Now, it is a responsibility of the people on the team to actually open the emails.
Yes.
To look at the text. Because I've had people say, well, I didn't know anything about it. I'm like, dude, you've been sitting in service for the last 6 weeks. We've been talking about it. It's been in the news. Oh, I didn't know.
Literally happens every week.
Quote my daddy on this one. Pay attention.
Yes.
Pay attention to what's going on, because as a dream teamer, as a leader, it is a responsibility to stay in the know.
100%.
I mean, I don't just wait for people to tell me.
Yeah.
I want to
Be
know.
proactive.
I want to ask.
Yeah.
We love questions. Be proactive about it. Anticipatory.
It's a good word.
Hey, what's coming up here?
It's a good word.
Do we have all of our bases covered? What do you need from me?
Yeah.
Anytime we have a gathering of any kind over at the house, I always appreciate people say, hey, what can I bring? They don't even wait to be told, because we're probably not going to tell them to bring something.
Right.
But hey, what can I bring? So they're being proactive there. So, but communication's huge.
It's really good. So everything you've shared so far really equips us as leaders with not just the perspective that we have, but even some practical stuff that we can do. Let's shift now to maybe even the leader specifically, because they need to take some time to rest, cool the jets a bit, get maybe decompressed, however you want to frame it up. Talk about that for a second.
No, I think rest is a vitally important part of a healthy leader's rhythm and pace of life. I think it's so important. And I would encourage captains and coaches to schedule a rest period where, hey, we're taking as a family, or whatever your situation looks like, I'm taking a 2-week vacation. I'm taking some time off with my family, and then take those Sundays off.
Yes.
Go ahead and tie that into that whole thing.
Yes.
Before you just, take off, plan that out. Have someone in place to lead in your absence.
Good. That is so good.
And all you have to do is ask. And I'd ask the person you can trust.
Yeah.
Like, who's doing a good job. Ask them.
It's developmental.
Absolutely.
I mean, from the jump, I remember early, even in the church, during the summer, there would be weeks that you were intentionally not there.
Yeah.
And you would have some of us younger communicators speak, and you would develop us to be ready for that.
Right.
And it would give us an opportunity to help grow. You could see what was in us. It showed that you trusted us. And then not only was that something that you did, but you didn't drop it on us the week before.
No.
You're talking to us about that in like January and February.
Absolutely.
And that's something that I've tried to model. I mean, I've been telling our team in Crosby, hey, listen, last week in May, I'm not here. And we've been talking about that since February.
Yeah.
And again, when you go back to that thought of communicating well, your team appreciates that. And then what they'll do if you communicate that really well is they'll come up alongside of you and they'll make it where you would feel bad for not going. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And it makes them feel good that you trust them.
Yeah. Yeah.
It makes them feel like, hey, he believes in me. It took me a few years to get to the point where I could miss a Sunday.
Yeah.
And
truly miss it.
Yeah.
And not be thinking about it.
Right. we're at that place now. Thank the Lord. And thank God for amazing people. Thank the team. But if you don't rest as a leader, you're trying to, I don't know. I'm not really sure what you're trying to do there. I think you need to space it and plan it in a way that it just fits within the rhythm of your life. And then as you're resting, truly turn your attention towards not just recreation, but reconnecting with God.
It's good, PJ.
Just having a moment, to spend time with the Lord. Let him talk to you. Let him just, we do this every day, but there's moments where you just need to get away and have a very intentional time, and unfortunately, I would say that most of our leaders aren't necessarily disciplined in that just yet. But I think if you're going to be a great leader for God, you have to make time to rest.
Yes.
And value that.
Yes.
It's a value. There's the Sabbath. And it's not a legalistic thing, but the scripture tells us, Jesus said, the Sabbath man wasn't made for the Sabbath was made for man. So it's like, I don't have to do this, but it's a gift that God gives me.
Yes.
So I think we ought to Sabbath every week, but I think there are times in the year, and the summer is a great time to just kind of pull out and back up a little bit. Let someone else lead in your stay.
Yeah.
Week, 2 weeks, and then come back and re-engage.
It's great.
Yeah, why not?
It's so good.
The church isn't going to fall apart. Your team's going to get stronger because
you're going to be stronger.
That's right.
That's so good. I want to encourage all of our listeners. This may be one of my favorite episodes that we've ever done.
Okay.
So, and I just say that because it's so practical, it's so needed, and we've been in ministry for a while. People don't talk about this. You get to summer, and you're trying to make all this stuff. Yeah, you're trying to make all this stuff happen, and you're like, man, everybody's talking about resting and taking vacations. And for the leaders that are owning the outcome, as we should as leaders, summer's the most stressful time of the year.
Yeah, it shouldn't be.
So it's right, it shouldn't be.
Doesn't have to be.
Doesn't have to be. So team, people that are listening, share this. Get this down through your teams. Go into the summer with an intentional plan. You'll be glad that you did. PJ, thank you.
Oh,
Great
thank
episode.
You. Yeah, love being here.
I know, man. Me too. Thank you to all of our leaders too. Thank you guys for leading so well, serving people so well. The way that you pray, connect, care. Nothing around here happens without our leaders and our team.
Love our team.
I know, man. It's a privilege to run with you guys and serve with you guys. Thanks for being with us today.
Yeah, man.
Do you ever get a question, something you want us to answer on the podcast? As I said before, we're going to have an episode dropping soon. Put them in the comments. If you want your own version of the Leadership Nation Podcast Cup Special Edition Slate Gray, let us know. We may or may not make some more. These may just be
maybe it.
This may be it.
The prototypes.
Yeah. Love you guys. Thanks again for joining us on this episode. We'll see you soon.